do you agree that the end goal should be like, hey, you can maintain these cultural tropes, but the end goal should be some level of assimilationism so we can live in a coherent culture?
He's not going to answer, Connor, so give up.
I literally was about to answer.
Let him answer.
All right, some degree of assimilation, absolutely, especially the American concept of assimilation.
What's your percentages so Adam doesn't get frustrated? What's your percentage of
some
assimilation
degree
versus non-assimilation?
I told you he wasn't going to answer.
He's going to give us a percentage.
Did I not say that?
Is an answer.
Is 69% of assimilation
nice.
on all 420
There you go.
aspects.
There's your non-answer.
That's a
right
great
there.
answer.
Fuck.
Great answer.
Justin, which aspect? Well, just to ask the question, Justin, which aspects of culture do you want people to assimilate to specifically?
Yeah, which white supremacist aspects?
Which white
freedom of
supremacist
conscience
aspects?
and
Yeah. How do you feel about being on time?
I was gonna ask that.
I feel being on time, the straw man answer. I think being on time is pretty cool, and I don't and, like you're not going to find like
white
totally
supremacist.
That argument is not made in any of the critical race theory literature that I've read. I think it's like it's taken out of context, not even taken out of context. Some idiot might have made that exact point, and the reason that it's so popular is because
brought it up during our review.
Yeah, like it's if someone made that somewhere, I haven't read it. But it
was Judith
Katz. All right, we were not able to get a copy of that book. All right, not even through LibGen, and you shouldn't use LibGen because technically it's illegal. All right, I don't know how she made it in that. If she said that being on time is a white construct, I think that's kind of stupid.
How do you feel about objectivity?
She said
objectivity.
How do you feel about empiricism?
She's making
empiricism. Those two things are different.
All right, I have.
I realize that, but they're all white supremacists.
Stop.
All right,
this is.
You think empiricism is white supremacist?
Look, I have to say I agree with Sitch.
John, don't bail him out. John, don't bail him out.
I agree with Sitch because I've read a bunch of critical race theory, and I have not found anything that's pro assimilation in there. In fact, Gary Peller writes about how we've used like the research and all this to design the classroom, and it takes away the maternal connection that student has with teacher. So like I've seen this over and over again in CRT, and sometimes they'll talk about people who assimilate, and then they'll also talk about how they're not really authentically black. Like,
yeah, that's racist.
You agree with the statement?
Acting white shit.
Ooh, ouch.
That's more racist than I am.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the statement that assimilation should not be like you should be able to maintain your culture, language, accent, religion, and way of dress in most contexts in society? Do you think that's an agreeable statement?
Wait, say the points again.
All right.
Yeah, do
you think that for the most part, you should be able to maintain your culture? And I know that's a big thing. Your culture, your language, your accent, your religion, and your way of dress. Do you think those are reasonable?
I wouldn't agree. Well,
no, maintaining your language doesn't mean you speak in the workplace. It means that you should be able to have your language.
Yeah, of
course. You should be allowed to speak your language.
Nobody disagrees with this.
No, it depends.
Well, a lot of people do though.
Some people
nobody,
do.
Of course, do.
Yeah. Now if you want to say that's
extent.
not your position, that's fine. But you walk a mile in our shoes because we've been having to bat away positions that we don't have. Like Adam bringing up time as a white supremacist concept.
Imagine like we're making you answer for every single
you're walking in our shoes right now.
Okay,
I hope you realize that.
Listen, because the original point here that I brought up.
It depends. Are you weaseling out of this?
I have not seen a single paper from CRT that's been pro-assimilation, and including the Delgado book, which I can read if we really want to get into it. And I'm asking you, have you read a single thing from CRT that is pro-assimilation?
I'd say, well, not pro-assimilation because the way they define assimilation is nuanced. And I know that's weaseling.
They define it inherently negatively.
No, they don't.
I agree with that.
In Delgado,
yes, it's not nuanced at all. It's like you're a race
very
trader.
nuanced.
Brendan, you're like
that's not nuanced.
Brendan, shut up. You're offering
Let
absolutely
Justin
nothing.
finish.
Is that descriptive or prescriptive?
The
Prescriptive.
It's okay. Well, Adam does not know what he's talking about. He's not adding to this at all. So in the Delgado book, no, I can't. I'm sorry. In the Delgado book, no, they offering like there's reasons for assimilationists. They do not present like a bad guy and a good guy. The assimilationists, they don't paint as the bad guy. The nationalists, they don't perceive as the good guy because
let me just read it because
let's just read it.
Let's just read it. I have it in front of me. Tell me what page you're on.
Page 59. It says
59?
nationalism versus assimilation.
Yeah. Oh my God. They even used the word assimilation.
Yes. This is the example.
Yeah. They used the word assimilation. Holy shit. That's a big blow against them.
Let's hear this extremely nuanced position.
Two friends, William and Jamal, are walking down a main street. Both are African Americans and have been close friends since high school. Both have medium brown skin and hazel eyes. Both are graduates of prestigious universities. William wears a business suit and carries a briefcase made by a famous designer. He is a third-year associate at a medium-sized law firm. Jamal,
large law firm.
What?
Large law firm.
I said, I know mine says medium-sized, so maybe you have different.
What edition are you using?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Jamal, who is a music industry executive making twice as much money as William, is wearing a kente cloth and sporting a short afro. On their way to a lunch date to discuss a new recording label, they talk about mutual friends, their families, and careers. On arriving at the restaurant, a trendy downtown eating establishment that caters to young professionals, William and Jamal exchange looks, and without speaking, William enters first and asks the maitre d' for a quiet table for two.
I'm really curious as to like what problems you take with this passage.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that story. I have a problem with everything it says after it.
Oh, wow. You want to read everything that says after that?
The two friends illustrate twin poles in the way minorities of color can represent and position themselves. The nationalist or separatist position, illustrated by Jamal, holds that people of color should embrace their culture and origins. Jamal, who by choice lives in an upscale black neighborhood and sends his children to local schools, could easily fit into mainstream life, but he feels more comfortable working and living in a black milieu and considers that he has a duty to contribute to the minority community. Accordingly, he does as much business as possible with other blacks. The last time he and his family moved, for example, he made several phone calls until he found a black-owned moving company. He donates money to several African-American causes, I can't read the word, and colleges. And of course, his work in the music industry allows him the opportunity to boost the careers of black musicians, which he does. William also donates to several black causes, and although he practices law in a white-dominated law firm on behalf of corporate clients, most of whom are white, he does pro bono work whenever possible on behalf of prison inmates, a large majority of whom are African American.
Are you realizing in real time this didn't give a shit what you thought it did?
Why are you interrupting, man?
Justin,
he lives in an integrated suburb that is 90% white with a smattering of blacks and other people of color, most professionals like himself. William and Jamal have discussed their contrasting lifestyles and have agreed to disagree. William believes he is doing more good breaking barriers in the white-dominated legal world, and that his work as a lawyer, especially when he is crowned, with the partnership he expects in a few years, will enable him to do some real good on behalf of minority clients and businesses. And even though Jamal is currently making more money than he, William believes that his own top salary as a partner will one day match that of his high school friends. Debates about nationalism versus assimilation figure prominently in current discourse about race. One strand of critical race theory energetically backs the nationalist view, which is particularly prominent with materialist. Derek Bell, the guy who's founded this, for example, urges his fellow African Americans to forswear the struggle for school integration and aim for the best possible black schools. Other CRT nationalists advocate for gun ownership on the grounds that historically the police in this country have not protected blacks against violence and indeed have often visited upon them. Other nationalists urge the establishment of an all-black or all-Latino inner-city schools, sometimes just for males, on the ground that boys of color need strong role models and cannot easily find them in public schools. Nationalists of all type questions the majoritarian assumption that Northern European culture is superior. Okay, now I could continue, and let me skip. Or I'm almost done here. Let me skip the Latino part because they go into a whole part about Latino nationalists. And then they say, a middle position embraced by a few sophisticated thinkers, including on occasion Derek Bell, holds that minorities of color should not try to fit into a flawed economic and political system, but to transform it. In this view, success symbolized by a high income, token representation, and even a degree of influence like that which William hopes to achieve is not worth pursuing if the system itself is unworthy and unjust. A moderate position that falls between William and Jamal's view holds that it is permissible for minorities to seek places in professions such as law and medicine as business, so long as they apply their skills for the benefit of minority communities. In this view, nothing would be wrong with William having to achieve an Ivy League degree in bar certification, but his practice in a corporate penthouse would be problematic. He should be a criminal or legal services lawyer instead. Or if business law is his field, like Jamal, he should be making his skills available to start up black businesses. A final intermediate position, one favoring William, holds that a strong U.S. economy benefits everyone. William's success as a Black corporate lawyer produces wealth, some of which will trickle down to poor and minority communities. And in any event, those communities need examples of successful, confident lawyers like William who can make their way anywhere. Okay, so to be clear, we have the nationalist view, which it says is energetically advocated by Derek Bell and many people. Then we have the middle position, which is a few sophisticated thinkers. And then we have the final two positions, which one is not even pro-assimilation. One is basically just nationalism. And the assimilation view is basically a tiny, tiny paragraph at the end that is written in a very dismissive way.
Well,
so
you
that's
mean
why
black
I'm saying,
nationalism, not necessarily. Right. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying, to me, when I read this whole chapter, it comes off as very pro nationalism and very anti.
It's not very nuanced either. It's very clear what's going on here.
He's saying that even if they mention that side
the entire time.
If he's saying that even if they mention that side of it, it seems like the overwhelming majority of these critical race theory scholars are leaning in the direction that's called nationalism instead of assimilationism there.